Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinder. The no intro this week because it's been an absolutely nutty weekend with state championships, a lot of life stuff that happened, and me trying to figure out the playoff points. The only one, I guess, in the state who's able to do this now, gets paid to do this for a living. So, that's all I did was hunkered in my bunker all day. Hey, look at that, I rhymed. Hunkered in my bunker all weekend, didn't do anything. Just all I did was playoff points, and I still don't even know if I got it all right. The good news is you're all out there to maybe help me out with this. If there are a lot of coaches out there who know their divisions better than I do, which is very likely, chime in, or anybody who's done this, chime in, let me know. If you don't know how to do this, please don't chime in, because there's been too many times I've had people over the past tell me that, oh, I got this wrong, I got that wrong, when I didn't get it wrong. You're just doing the points incorrectly. You're not doing it right. Anyway, welcome to the Recard. I'm Sean Baxter, boy with Pete. Peter, how are you?
Good. Yeah, don't ask me about the playoff points. I'm not the math guy here. We've discussed that, but I just wanted to tell you a little fun thing, Sean. So on Saturday, I went to the Sacred Heart football game. My wife had something there, and I was invited to go, and they played Merrimack. And guess who scored a touchdown in that game for Merrimack?
I won't guess. My brain's mush. So who do you got?
Seth Schweitzer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it was really cool to see. I didn't even look at the rosters before, but all of a sudden he scored to put Merrimack up, and they're like, touchdown, Seth Schweitzer. I'm like, oh wait, I know him. He played well. Sacred Heart won, but yeah, he played well. It was really cool to just be like, oh, turned to my wife and go, hey, I wrote a story about him his senior year. The last of the Schweitzers. Well, for now. But obviously him,
until
his
they
brothers,
start,
but it's like him, his brothers, his dad and his uncle, and Seth were all first team for us for the New Haven Register and GametimeCT. So it was just kind of a little blast from the past.
Speaking of good performances in college, Cam Edwards, UConn, just
1,000 yards.
It.
1,000 yards. That was his goal this year, was to get 1,000 yards in the season, and he did. Good for him.
Every time Cam Edwards does something well, man, Pete gets his wings. The angel gets his wings, because Pete was all about him being player of the year back in the day, and it was between him and Victor Rosa, and it was a toss-up, and we just like, tougher schedule, and he played great. They didn't go to the playoffs.
I mean, I had my moment, though. I had my what's the movie where the teacher stands on the table? What's that movie? With Robin Williams.
Dead Poet Society?
Yeah, that was my moment. I stood on the table of the conference room at the New Haven Register, and I said, Cam Edwards is our MVP. I didn't really stand on the table, but I was not budging.
Yeah, no. That was a good pick for that one. But before we begin, we got a lot to get to, because it's playoff. We're going to figure out who's in and who's out of the playoffs, and that's what I worked on all weekend. And like I said before, if you know your divisions inside and out, please, let me know if I might have screwed something up. I'm not going to get into all the weeds of who needs what yet. There's still lots of games that are going on this weekend. This week was a little bit of a light week. We had a couple showdowns. Maybe one surprise, although not to me, because I actually picked it right. And then the other was kind of the score might have been a surprise, although I got some text messages saying to me, oh, I knew that team was going to win. So what do I know? But
everyone likes to play Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah. But before we begin, please remember to like and subscribe to our GametimeCT YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram. We'll have videos and games, all the games we cover. We have a lot of playoff stuff, lots of Thanksgiving stuff. Tons of stuff to go. We're almost there, Pete. But of course, also go to GametimeCT.com for our weekly poll and everything else about high school sports. And there's a lot of stuff from our staff that literally just went all out to get those stories to you, and all the videos and everything. Shout out to our guy Will, who was injured in the line of duty. And we're going to be short of a videographer for a while, but Will, in the process of getting stuff, was taken out. And our best wishes to him, Will Oldham. He's done a great job for us all year, and for the last few years, or I don't know, how long has he been with us? Jeez, it feels like forever now. 7 years or so. anyway.
I think, what did he come in 2018? He was after me, so it was like 2018, 2019.
So, and Will, all out, and he's now unfortunately unavailable as he gets tended to after shooting during the Staples Greenwich boys soccer final. So our best wishes to him. Where do we start, Pete? Well, let's start over at, if I had done a reel to start the show, it would have been the big game all the way down there at Wilton. We had Wilton being one of the undefeated teams, rocking it all up to number 3, taking on a St. Joseph team that was defense. Would it be the Dennis Dustin and Charlie Calabrese, or would it be the Hogs and their MO, which is defense and just pounding teams into submission? Let's go down to Fujitani Field. Junior Finn Kilmartin scored twice at the goal line and blocked an extra point and had an interception in the third quarter. I hope I get all this right. Then Will Zaccagnino blocked the punt that Kyle Wick returned for a touchdown as the Hogs defeated Wilton. What was the final score of that game?
24-12.
There it is, 24-12. The Hogs now are rolling, absolutely rolling, and they clinched one of the top seeds, and now we'll take a look at that in a second. But an absolutely dominant performance. Dennis Dustin was hobbled by a sore ankle, and Charlie Calabrese did everything he could through the air without their general on the ground. He threw for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, but came a lot too late. And St. Joe's defense, Pete, all year long, they've just been absolutely smoking it. Your guy, Zaccagnino, and Wicker's been ridiculous, and just so many dudes on that. They're all dudes on that defense. And St. Joe just rolling through now the FCIAC. And remember, they only lost a hand early by a point, and then they only lost New Canaan on a pick 6. Otherwise, they'd be looking at an undefeated season, but it's not going to matter much. They have already qualified in Class M, but they've been waiting all year to do this. They want to take the chicken wing back.
I got a story. Yeah, I got a story after this.
Well, here's Finn Kilmartin. They've been waiting all year for this. So roll it, Danny.
Do you feel like this was a statement game for you guys?
Definitely. Number 3 versus number 6, and look what we did to them. So I think we're the real number 3. Could be even number 1. So
yep. At what point in this game did you feel like you guys had everything under control?
Oh, I knew it was barbecue chicken in the third quarter. Once we scored all our points, it was barbecue chicken from there.
Will, Finn, you screwed it up. You screwed it up.
Will, that was Will.
Oh, that was Will. Okay.
Zaccagnino.
Sorry. I call Will Finn and Finn Will. I do that all the time. And Finn would look at me like, what are you, this is 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so Will, you screwed it up. I screwed this up. Will, you're supposed to just lay it all out and then say barbecue chicken from there. You got to take a cue, but they got the chicken wing right for now. Although I guess Cheshire still has their chicken wing until someone takes it from them. Nobody's done it since they went when they're just on a roll right now too. But Pete, the Hogs, what can you say about them?
Well, I will say after the Staples game, when I was interviewing Will after it, they were all huddled around like waiting for him to say it, and he never got to it, which was fine by me. I just thought it was really funny that he actually did it this time. But I think St. Joe's I know New Canaan's undefeated, and I know New Canaan beat St. Joe's. I don't know if there's a team playing better football in the state of Connecticut right now than St. Joe's. I think their defense has just been lights out the last, even including the New Canaan game. Every game since week 2, they've just been lights out. And I think they're playing the best football right now. And that's what you want to do. You want to be playing the best football come November, come December. I think St. Joe's is on an absolute roll. And their division is theirs for the taking in M. Zaccagnino is playing lights out right now. There was a lot of hype heading into the season surrounding him because he got that Syracuse offer before the season began, and everyone was like, oh, who is this gigantic lineman at St. Joe's who just pulled in a Power 4 offer? Wicker's awesome. He's been playing great. Kilmartin's doing a little bit of everything for him. And then, we didn't even talk about Jake Rios, who might be one of the best all-around football players in the state. Yeah. So they're just playing really good football right now. and I wouldn't want to be on their schedule the rest of the way.
No. And we'll get to St. Joe where they are in the playoffs in a second here, but several other things happened this week that we were bear mentioning. First, over at Hamden, Artie McCormick IV ran 15 times for 105 yards and scored a pair of touchdowns as North Haven pulled away from Hamden in the second half to win that game 28-7. We said it before last week. It would be the 200th victory for Tony Sagnella, and sure enough, that is what happened. And the Nighthawks, almost said Indians, the Nighthawks back on the mend a little bit. It might be a little bit too late, but shout out to North Haven football. But there he is, celebrating with Sags, who got his just a week after St. Joseph coach Joe Del Vecchia did it. Coach Sagnella got his 200th victory. Now, he started for a few years at North Branford, but there he is. He is now the 22nd coach all time in CIAC football history, and the second, obviously, 2 weeks to reach 200 victories for his career. He's right behind Joe Dell, who got his 201st, obviously against Wilton. So you're right behind him, but Joe's going to be able to possibly get a few more wins on you there in the playoffs, and it's not looking great for North Haven. But congratulations to Coach Sags, an awesome job there. I mean, listen, Pete, it was a slog there in North Haven until about 15 years ago or so. Or maybe even a little earlier than that, they decided to go to the single wing, and it took a while for that to get going. They went backwards instead of forward when everyone was going spread offenses. They said, let's go the other way. That's kind of like more of our style, and it has done great. It's done great things for North Haven, and Sags has won a ton of games since then. And congratulations to him. Obviously, they wrap up their season this week with West Haven, and then they got to kind of cross their fingers and hope things go their way. Probably not, but regardless, that's a good milestone for them, and they'll be back, I'm sure. But that was one big record. And then obviously the other one was Thursday night. Joey Montalvo was denied the record a week ago, but then against Plainville, he became the all-time career leading receiving yards in the state history with 8 catches for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 31-24 loss to Plainville. But a great job by him. I mean, he becomes the all-time leading receiver. He's been a great player for them for the better part of the last 4 years. I mean, he played a little bit as a freshman and then really came on in his sophomore and juniors, especially his junior when they were really good. East Catholic, though, lost that game, and they are out of the playoff running. So he's got one game left with Northwest Catholic coming up to maybe kind of pad his lead there for the next guy that comes through. But an amazing job by Joey Montalvo. And here he is after the game talking about the milestone.
I guess when you hear the phrase Joey Montalvo is Connecticut's all-time leading receiver, what goes through your mind when you hear that phrase?
Yeah, man, I'm really just at a loss for words, to be honest, but it's all glory to God. I'm thankful to be able to shine through him and show the world what he's blessed me with.
Knowing that it was also senior night, how cool was it having a chance to celebrate that special moment with this group of guys and with your family?
Yes, sir. It's special. It's real special. It's great that I got to do it on senior night, and the young kids played it. They came to play, and I'm proud of them.
That'll be a really interesting game against Northwest Catholic. Going to the playoffs, so there's nothing really at stake for the Lions going into that game other than beating their rival, which I'm sure they would love to do.
Yeah,
as they go and get as good a seed as possible.
I'm going to pull some stats from Ned's story. So Ned covered that for us on Thursday night. Thank you, Ned. And East Catholic was 7-33 the 4 years before he stepped foot on campus as a freshman. They're 25-16 since, and with 2 state playoff appearances. And in that game against Northwest Catholic, he actually has a shot to break Nico Regani's record for career receptions. He's only 5 behind with 217.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nico finished his amazing career at Notre Dame West Haven before he went to prep school and then Iowa with 222 career receptions. Montalvo's at 217. He also was 4 touchdown receptions behind Alex Gemelli. Montalvo has 46 Gemelli has 50. I don't think he gets that one. You know, I don't think he's going to score 4 touchdowns against Northwest Catholic, but I could easily see him get 5 receptions or 6 receptions to finish his career with both receptions and receiving yards. And if you look at that receiving yard list of the guys on that list, obviously Nico Reganey went and played at Iowa. Thomas Malone, who, I mean, he was like the first year I was covering high school sports, and I'm like, wait, there's a kid who can rush and receive for 1,000 yards in a season.
He was amazing.
He was a great baseball player. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays, I believe, in the 3rd round out of high school. And Alex Gemelli on there. He was an absolute stud at Southington, the all-time receiving touchdowns leader. So
Coggins was ridiculous, if you remember. Yeah, Coggins was ridiculous. I didn't see Marcus Cooper was ridiculous for Bloomfield during that era there. The other guys are a little before my time in the 60s and 70s. But I did see Alex Gemelli play for Southington. He was absolutely great. And Riddle a little bit before my time, but I mean that's quite a list there. He's Reganey was absolutely 2-time. What was he? He was a three-time New Haven registered All-Stater. And I remember sitting in, just one quick thing about Reganey. Like I remember everybody was just like, so lacrosse. I mean, he was a little bit undersized, right? Yeah. But you know, it was just, I remember sitting in the All-State photos with him, and I asked him, he goes, no, you know, I'm going to try, I like football. Yeah. Sure enough, he went to Avon Farms, which shout out to Avon Farms winning the overall New England championship this weekend. But he went to Avon Farms, and then next thing you know, he was killing it at Iowa.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was, I remember when there was a Friday night Big 10 game or Big 12. I can't even tell you what conferences were. And I remember it was like Levis's first start against Penn State. And then who's playing on the other side? Nico Reganey playing for Iowa. And I'm like, holy cow, like 2 SEC, Connecticut, CIAC kids playing in this game. Iowa, I believe, won the game. And I think Reganey played well. But I remember going to Iowa a couple of years ago for a family wedding, and I got to go see the football field at Iowa. And we went in the locker room. We got like a nice tour, and I saw his locker. And I'm like, he probably wouldn't even recognize me if he saw me, but I just think it's so cool. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a great list. Congratulations, Joey.
Before we get to the Game Time CT Top 10, here's what I have. All right, this is where I'm going to just show who's in the state playoffs. We're going to roll the top 10 poll, and then we're going to get into what needs what in the state playoff picture. This is probably one of the most complete pictures, state playoff pictures I have seen ever. It's just it's almost set in 2 divisions, and the other ones are almost set just based on if you win, you're in. It's not a lot of intrigue. There's not a lot of who did what, except for like 1 or 2 division tops. Obviously, Class AA is an absolute mess. Well, a mess in the sense that there are teams that are 5-5, that are potentially 5-5 getting in that one. And then you have the uber tough Class S at the bottom. But let's show quickly before we go on. If you're new to this, Danny, show the graphic. Here's how this works. You get 100 points for every victory, and then you get 10 points for every win by opponent you defeat. Then you get a little bit of a class modifier. You get 10 extra points if they are a class above you. So if you're double MM and you beat a double LL, then you get 10 extra points for beating that team. If you're double SS, and you beat a double LL, one of those schools, you get 30 points extra. So there's a big boost for the Class S and double S schools. And then they added the strength modifier, so where they add up all the wins by all the opponents you played that year, regardless of whether you beat them or not. And then they add 5 points for every victory of those opponents. So now it used to be just you get 10, but now going to Thanksgiving, when you beat a team, you're going to get 15 out of that, because I don't even want to get into it, but then you divide. I can't even think about it. But then you get your total points are divided by the number of games played. So like a team like New Britain plays 19 games, so that's only divided by 9. And then the averages are what you go by, not the points. And then the top 8 per class. So here's what we got, Pete. Show it up, Danny. Here is who is in the state playoffs as of right now, according to Game Time CT calculations. Now, if I missed, didn't carry a 1 or forgot a 5 or something. My eyes started to glaze over at the end, but here it is. We are 28 of 48 teams have already clinched state playoff berths. There are 20 spots remaining, and many of those are winning in. But in Class L, 7 spots have been clinched. Fairfield Prep, New Britain, Greenwich, Southington, Glastonbury, Staples at 5-4, and they've been reeling. And then Danbury, for the first time since 2003, since Glenn Morning was running around and Rick Davis was head coach, Danbury gets in there by beating West Hill this week. Congrats to Augie and the guys. They were all fired up about it on the interwebs. And I had to check it before I said anything, but there you go. Danbury is in the state playoff. There is 1 spot remaining. In Class L, 3 spots. This is a little bit of a mess. 3 spots have been clinched. New Canaan, Cheshire, and Newtown. I don't know why I have a 3 there, but Newtown is 7-2, but they are the teams that are in. We'll get to that in a second. Class M, 4 spots. That's half the field has been clinched. Wilton, Windsor, Bunnell, and Middletown are all in. In Class M, you have St. Joseph and everybody else. I'm not just kidding. Berlin's in there, and Guilford for the first time since 1993 when they lost to Ledyard in the final. Guilford in the state playoffs at 8-1 after their victory over Lyman Hall, which we will talk about in a little bit. In Class SS, Killingly is in, Nottawag is in, Hand is in, and Jonathan Law is also in. And then finally in Class S, there's 1 spot left. 7 teams in. Woodland, Seymour, both 9-0. They play Thanksgiving Eve. North Branford's in. Cromwell, Portland is in despite their loss. Sheehan, of course, the team nobody wants in this. Sheehan is in. They've accumulated enough. Northwest Catholic is in, and Bloomfield. So that is where we stand right now. The state playoff, Pete. I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, it's the most I've ever seen this early. Maybe not early, but it's 2 weeks left. And when we look at the standings, you're going to see like, wow, it's almost wrapped up.
Yeah, the crazy thing is when they expanded to 6 playoff divisions in 2022. A big reason that the CIAC and the coaches said is they wanted to give teams more opportunities to play in the playoffs, and they wanted the regular season to not end after 2 games. Right? They wanted, teams with 2 losses to not be out of it. Oh. But we're heading into week 11 and we already know who's going to the playoffs. So like the last 2 games honestly don't really matter other than seeding. And because of the way they do the schedules, and the divisions are set up by enrollment and you're playing in different conferences, which are varied by skill level. Sometimes getting the best seed isn't beneficial for you, right? Because you might get a harder first round game. You might get on a harder side of the bracket. So it doesn't. I don't know. I don't think it's other than getting more teams in the playoffs, which it has. 35% of the teams make the playoffs now. I think that they. I don't know. It just kind of sucks out the last It just sucks out the last 2 weeks. Thanksgiving is going to be fun because if you're still in a rivalry game, I've been trying to pull the games that we're going to, the 20 games we're going to do the picks from. And, there are some games that are interesting, like Prep and Xavier, right? Prep and Xavier is just interesting. They're both Catholic schools in the SEC. They're playing on Thanksgiving. I didn't put it on the picks because Xavier's not very good right now. But also there's no history behind that game. So, who cares? Why am I going to put that on the picks board? But it's other than the handful of games that have that history, Thanksgiving kind of loses any excitement now because we're going to know how many teams have already clinched before they even kick off.
Yeah. It's watered down. I don't like it. I don't like teams that are 5-5, getting into the playoffs. I don't like the way we do our schedules here. Everywhere it's free for all. Everyone's got a different schedule. I like leagues, and it's weird to say that, but maybe not the leagues that we had, but I don't like this. I have a tougher schedule, and if I can somehow survive it, I'm going to get so many points. I'm going to get in at 7-2. I'm going to be the top seed at 7. St. Joe has a shot to be 7-2, or sorry, 8-2 and be the top seed over Berlin. I doubt it. I mean, if Berlin finished 9-1 and St. Joe is 8-2, they're going to be the top seed.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It's just like, and their schedule is different than Berlin's schedule. And it's just all over the place. And Class Double L is a mess. The divisions are wildly unbalanced. Half these Double L schools couldn't even beat some of the Class S schools. I mean, I'm not saying the ones that make the playoffs, but they're going to be a few in there.
I think, and you've mentioned this before, and I've always told you need to put pen to paper and you need to write this out. But I like look, if you're in Double L, then you play a Double L schedule. If you're in L, you play an L schedule. Because look, the only thing the leagues matter for right now is your non-alliance schedule. And the way that a lot of the leagues have gone to these power divisions, the SEC kind of started it. Now the CCC did it. The ECC's done it. The NVL did it a couple of years ago. The FCIAC's doing it this year. The only league that doesn't really have a power schedule is the SWC and the CTC. Now the SWC, I think it's because of actual amount of schools, or Pequot, as well. But it just, you kind of just take it all away. Like, look, don't get me wrong. Kennedy going to the playoffs last year at 7-3 was really cool. Chris Sarlo's been there for 20 plus years. Like, he puts a lot into that program, to get to go to the playoffs. That's great. But they got into the playoffs because they didn't have to play, I'm sure they played like one or two, but they didn't have to play Ansonia, Naugatuck, Holy Cross, Woodland, Watertown. They didn't have to play all of them. And you're seeing it this year in the FCIAC, where like all of the FCIAC powers have played each other except for one, right? Like Wilton doesn't play New Canaan this year. New Canaan doesn't play Wilton this year. Greenwich doesn't play, who the heck did Greenwich not play? Greenwich didn't play St. Joe's, right? St. Joe's doesn't play Greenwich. So, but at the same time, then you're still battle tested. Look, Staples is reeling. They're 5-4. There might be 5-5. They lose to Greenwich, but you look at their schedule. Other than Stanford and Ward were their only, and Ludlow, who beat them, other than that, they're not playing the other guys in the FCIAC. And that's kind of a problem when you're trying to like figure out like, okay, who should go to the players, who should not, because I don't know. Like the games don't mean that much anymore.
I'll give you a great example of this. Staples is 5-4. And then on the other side, you have Darien 6-3, right? And they're in a much tougher division.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to parse this thing together, like Double L and L are almost like we need to, somehow, some of those teams need to be in Double L. And some of those, actually, I've got a great example. We need to take, and I've said this many times, 6 divisions, way it is right now, is just it's just too watered down. What we really need, and I was talking to a coach today, because this team's got a chance to get into the playoffs. And it was Tony Benito from Cheney Tech. His team actually has a shot to get in. But we were talking about it, and he was just like, well, we're going to give it a shot. But they're like, you're looking at, if you get in, you're looking at Wilton.
Yeah.
Cheney Tech at Wilton. And then the schedule they play. And you notice this, and when you have certain teams, they get out of their comfort zone. You give them like an easier schedule. You get them out of their comfort zone. And it's no contest. It's a big deal, but especially with some of the schools, you can actually identify techs, which there are only 4 that are strictly by themselves: Platt Tech, O'Brien Tech, Bullard Havens, and Cheney Tech. Right? Is there another one? I don't think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and then you have all these other divisions like Cromwell, Portland, and you have Grand Canton, and they're all, and Ellington's by itself. We're gonna go to Lone, or Brantford, we're gonna go to Lone. Derby also, we're gonna go to Lone. But it's like you got to compete against those type of schools that are kind of, it's variable in what type. But what I'm saying is you should take all the co-ops and the tech schools, and if they want to go to Lone, fine. Put them in all one division, and then rebalance it, and then you'll see the much tighter public school one, and then you can discuss what you want to do about Catholic schools, St. Joe and M, that kind of stuff.
St. Joe's probably shouldn't be an M, but I'm tired of this private school, and let's get our pitchforks against private schools when a lot of these public schools have other ways to get kids into schools. So there's ag programs, there's all these different ways for these kids to get into the schools now.
Not all of them, though.
But there's a lot. I mean, some good programs you're looking at and you're like, they have an ag program, right? I mean, I read how you get into Killingly. You can come from 10 different towns, and we're acting like they're this little school of the poor. They're not. But one school that actually does interest me, and this is my problem, and this is what I said about double L's playing double L's all year. NFA is 5-4 on the outside looking in, right? They're the only one who hasn't clinched a spot.
No, they're in the running. They're in the running, but
yeah, but they're in 8th right now. But I'm saying they haven't clinched. Of NFA's 9 games, because they play an ECC schedule, how many double L teams has NFA played this year? Oh, they played 2.
Oh,
they played 2 in their alliance. Yes, in their alliance. They played Harding, who has not been very good, and Trumbull from the FCIAC, who beat them. And NFA's right now, they have 96.1 points average. In Class S, they would be in 10th.
Well, there's a little bit.
No, you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying.
Like
the S schools get extra points, which is why you can't.
Yeah,
do that,
but if you're going to be in double L, you need to play at least half your schedule has to be against double L.
At least, I would say I would say again, and I've been screaming about this for years, and I know there's been talk about trying to do it this way, but there's a lot of history, a lot of things you got to do, and it's probably not going to happen. But and I say this every year that I want to do this. I want to do the district model thing where you play whoever you want in your first 3 games, whatever you want your league to put it together, whatever, and then you play a regional type of schedule, 6 games or whatever, 7 games. I actually think it should be 8 games, and whoever comes out of that, the top 2 teams, maybe have an at-large bid. The top 2 teams go, and then that's it. No playoff points, none of that stuff, unless you're deciding who the second place team should be or whatever. I don't know. I hate the way this is. I would even take a power division. They did this on Long Island when I was a senior in high school for baseball one year. They took all the best teams, they put them in a conference, and they all just played each other. And I was like, could you imagine if we had a power division with 12 teams, and it was like Division 1, and like they just played each other during the year, and then 8 of them went to the playoffs, and you just got who the best team was, and you could apply to go in, even if you're a smaller school, to play with the big boys or whatever. That I would do. Look, and I get what you're saying about history, but in the last 10 years here, history has been thrown out the window in terms of like conferences don't matter. They've realigned schedules so many different times. Thanksgiving rivalries are for in
a
the
lot
SEC.
of schools,
They're trying to get rid of them all, basically.
Yeah, they're non-existent in most places. Like, I'm not saying some of these Thanksgiving games don't matter, but a good majority of them don't have the history that the few do. So like history feels like we're getting rid of it anyway. So like,
I'm not into a power division. I think you are what you are. I think they just need to better figure out what they are. And I think a good way to do that would be, let's start with, the principals don't want to do it because then we got to start doing it for softball. And so it was said like, well, you don't get your head kicked in after when you lose a softball game 20-0. You just don't.
That game ends in 4 innings.
Yeah. I mean, like it doesn't scan. You don't have to do that. It's football. Football's different. That's the other thing.
Even lacrosse is kind of adapted to a power division.
I like lacrosse in a way, but I think an easy fix would be to do, if you want a co-op, you have to play in the co-op division, and then you make sure everyone's on the board on that, and then they're not tweaking that system, and then you play like a 10. There's only 30 teams, right? Or no, not even, right? There's 30 teams.
20. Oh, yeah.
And then you like divide that up, or 32 teams or something like that. And then you can divide that into 4. And then it's like Division A, Division B, Division C, Division D. And the Division D, and then whoever wins the division, they go, they have a 4-game playoff if you win. And then there you go, or something like that. I mean, this thing where we love the playoffs so much. And it's just like, but to what end? I don't know. We can go on all day about this, and I am going to do that this summer, or this whatever. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to be a little
pen to paper, Sean. Pen to paper.
Yeah, what it would look like. All right, we're gonna. It's 100 things. Everyone's got an opinion about it, but the one thing I can't stand though, the alliance is just completely. the schedules are just way, like you said, NFA is getting.
I'm in if the Alliance takes over all scheduling and these conferences go back to nothing. The conferences don't mean anything. The fact that we're clinging on to them and it means nothing because it ruins when you're looking at the playoff division. I'm not knocking NFA. Like Coach Dillon has done a great job there. They had that huge win. Yeah. They had to come back and beat Fitch in the final match. Like he's doing a great job there. And NFA in the mix is always fun. But like play double L schools if you're going to play in the double L division. And if the Alliance gets us there, where we just get rid of these conferences and we
the Alliance guys, though, remember they want to play Duquesne, Darien on Columbus Day or whenever, and then they want to or whatever they want to play it earlier, and then they want to play and they want to start the playoffs after Halloween, which is what Massachusetts does. And there are people in Massachusetts who they've completely taken out all the Thanksgiving Day games, and people are grumbling up there too. And
I still think there's a way where you could do it. Where you're playing 8 teams, you're playing 8 games in your division. Week 1 and week 12, your Thanksgiving opponent is still on Thanksgiving, and your week 1 opponent could be a crossover in any division, another quote unquote rival. And then those 8 games in the middle, you're playing your playoff division.
Right, you're playing your division. Yeah.
I think you can still do that with Thanksgiving. Yeah, I think we can still do that with Thanksgiving. I think there's a middle part. I think there's a common ground there.
Fair enough. Okay. That said, let's get to the top 10 poll brought to you by People Gaga. Here's what happened this week.
The regular season is almost over with 2 weeks left before the postseason begins. And while there was one top 10 matchup last week, there was some shakeup in the latest GametimeCT top 10 media poll. Coming in at number 10 is Cheshire. The Rams stay in the top 10 after a 17-7 victory over Amity. Cheshire is off this week before playing Southington on Thanksgiving morning. At number 9 is Windsor. The Warriors got back into the win column with a commanding 61-18 win over East Hartford. The Warriors finished the regular season on Saturday versus Bloomfield. At number 8 is New Britain. The Hurricanes wrapped up their regular season with a 68-30 win over Manchester. The Hurricanes have unofficially locked up a playoff spot and will wait 18 days until their next game. At number 7 is Fairfield Prep. The Jesuits got back in the win column with a 35-14 win over Law. They are off this week and will play Xavier on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. At number 6 is Wilton. The Warriors lost for the first time this season, 24-12 to St. Joseph, and tumbled 3 spots down the poll. They wrap up their regular season on Friday versus Hill House. At number 5 is Greenwich. The Cardinals got a much-needed victory in a 35-14 win over Darien. They're off this week and will play Staples on Thanksgiving morning. At number 4 is St. Joseph. The Hogs continue their climb up the poll, moving up 2 spots this week after their 24-12 win over Wilton. They are off this week and will play Trumbull on Thanksgiving. At number 3 is Han. The Tigers took care of West Haven 49-18 and move up 1 spot this week. The Tigers are off this week before playing Guilford the night before Thanksgiving. At number 2 is Killingly. The Trailblazers have won 22 straight games and are off this week before playing Woodstock Academy on Thanksgiving morning. And the number 1 team in the GametimeCT top 10 media poll is New Canaan. The Rams took care of Trumbull 42-13, and the return of Andrew Esposito in that game is another positive sign for the number 1 Rams, who are off this week before playing Darien on Thanksgiving.
And Lou Marinelli back at
and
coach.
Lou, that's right.
Forgot all about that.
That's
But
right.
yeah, good to see Espo back.
Yeah, he had like 9 or 10 catches. I think Dave Stewart texted me his stats because Dave and I were trying to figure out like when he was going to come back. Like, do they need him? Are they going to wait for, rest? And we were like, yeah, maybe he comes back against Trumbull, maybe plays a couple of drives. Now he went 9 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Andrew Esposito's okay.
I was going to say, I was going to say, we'll talk about player of the year candidates. Obviously Hayden Allard has got a very good case.
Yep.
And I was like, how long does Andrew Esposito stay? I mean, unless they go to the playoffs and he goes nuts. I was wondering.
Last year.
And then I saw him suit up. I'm like, okay, well, maybe, it's only 2 games. Not that huge, huge deal. But if you remember, like, Cheshire, what's his name?
Matt Jeffrey.
Matt Jeffrey. It was like, he was an all-state. He was a player of the year candidate. He only played 5 games.
And they won all 5 games he played.
Yeah, they won all 5 games. They weren't great without him. So they don't have him this year, and they've been great.
I will say this poll, I know I didn't have much to say last week, but how does Wilton fall behind Greenwich?
I don't know.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, this poll was not easy to put together this week with Wilton's loss because, who beat who, and a lot of them have played each other.
Yeah.
But how does Greenwich stay above Wilton? They just lost them 2 weeks ago. Blows my
I don't
mind.
know. Let's. I don't know, Pete. I've given up on you. I mean, you'll love the quarrel with the poll, and I'm just make my votes. I had Wilton ahead of Greenwich. I had Wilton below St. Joe. You know, I still have Killingly high. I know you don't, but I had them too. I mean, just at some point, we'll see how it all shakes out in the end. But anyway, all right. So there's not a ton of stuff happened this week, but we're going to kind of go through it and then talk about the playoffs, and then we're going to look at the week ahead and get out of here. But we're going to start off with Class Double L, where they're at Southington, Pete. Absolutely just has won 4 consecutive games. Here it is. But they beat Maloney 35-34 in overtime. Will Cumberidge blocked the PAT in the overtime. And right after Ben Boley was having the sophomore is having an amazing second half of the season at running back. He scored his 4th rushing touchdown of the game, and they kicked the extra point. And the Blue Knights sent Maloney almost to the showers. Maloney's in big trouble in Class L, and sent Southington. Well, they were already into the playoffs. And in fact, now that I mentioned it, I think Ned Griffin was saying that Prep and Greenwich, or Prep and New Britain, are qualified by week 6 in Double L. So a lot of these teams are already getting in, but that's a big one for Southington as we all play for seeding now. I remember that was kind of the scene that was in 2022 when they played Maloney as the number 1, number 2 team, and there it is. Maloney now in big trouble, but Southington, Pete, just absolutely rolling. It's just, they look like they were. I remember what was it a month ago, shoveling dirt on them, and here they come back, and just an amazing job.
Yeah, it's a great job by Coach Levesque.
Yeah,
really good job.
I mean, I was worried about them.
Yeah, first year was tough, but they're back in the mix, and Southington should be going to the playoffs every year.
Yeah, no, I was wondering when they were gonna, make a run at it. But and then the other games, Glastonbury took care of South Windsor, which had won, I believe, 5 straight games for South Windsor going into this one. But Glastonbury, Connor Finity threw for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they were just kind of all I almost said Tomahawks, all Guardians all the time. And this one, Dante Castilla scored touchdowns, and away we go. They are also in the Class Double L playoffs. And then the other game, Pete, Greenwich. Well, I put the guy that Greenwich. Are we overrating Greenwich or underrating Darien? But Phil Tarantino, the quarterback, who's had a rough couple of weeks, counted for 4 touchdowns as the Cards beat up on Darien in this game, and got their season back on track after a few frustrating losses there, Pete, at Cardinal Stadium. They face Staples now on Thanksgiving in a game that's really about seeding in Double L. I like it better when it's winner in or out. If you lose, you go home. But right now, it's all about seedings and possibly trying to avoid New Britain, Fairfield Prep. Yeah. I don't know. It's a free-for-all.
I mean, look, I will say this. Have we overrated Greenwich? Maybe a little bit. But I will say, and we talk about great defenses in this state, and we talk about New Canaan, and we talk about St. Joe's, and they are amazing. Greenwich's defense is right up there.
It's good.
Really good. Even in their
they all lost 7-3 to Wilton. So
7-3 to Wilton and 14-7 to New Canaan.
Yeah.
And even in the game where they struggled against Ludlow, those touchdowns really weren't on the defense. It was like a muff thing and a pick 6. And Greenwich's defense is still really, really good. So if the offense can catch up like it did at the end of last season when MJ D'Angelo kind of turned it on at the end of the year and Greenwich, kind of rode him to the Double L championship, I think Greenwich is in, good standing anyway.
Well, let's put it this way. Greenwich absolutely romped Fairfield Prep in the opener, and Prep, who's the top seed? I mean, who's going to be the top seed in Double L? Let's take a look at the standings actually, and see what we got here in Class Double L. This is where we stand right now. Fairfield Prep is the top seed. They've clinched a home game. New Britain is right now they're number 2. Their season's finished. They wrapped it up, and they just wait to see what happens. They kind of kick back and see what happens at 8-1. But they have also clinched a home game. Then you got Greenwich, which will clinch a home game if it beats Staples. I think they're going to be in good shape anyway. I'm actually going to look at it now. But Glastonbury, Southington, Staples, Danbury are on You got to take a quick look at NFA. NFA, they beat New London, guys. Guess what? This one's over. And New London's not been great this season, but who knows in that game. And NFA hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire. They only barely beat Woodstock. There were a few other head scratch. They lost to Trumbull, NFA. But New London's had its issues. So if NFA wins, they will be in complete this field. And it's all kind of up to seedings. I think Greenwich is close to getting a home game as well. And I think Southern Cheshire is going to determine whether Southington is going to get a home game. And then Glastonbury also, which plays Simsbury. Not a lot of points there for them on that. But they're neck and neck right now. And if Southington wins, I think they'll get that fourth spot at least. But there you go. West Haven needs NFA to lose and then beat North Haven on Thanksgiving Eve, and then the only way our guys from Northern and West Haven get in, and maybe West Haven loses North Haven and NFA loses, and then they beat Hamden as well. So that is the Class L playoffs. Let's. I mean, there's not a lot we didn't talk about in Class L, so let's take a quick look at those standings. It's a little tougher in this one, and I got to pull up my little note sheet here. But right now, New Canaan is the number one seed in this. They're not going to lose that. Cheshire is looking right now at the two if they can beat Southington. Newtown hasn't clinched a home game yet, but will do so if they beat Massac. And then it becomes kind of a mess, but not too much if you really look at it. They all need to win to get in, all of these teams. Now, Weaver's got 2 games left. They got Ellington this week, and then they wrap up with Capital Prep. No, is it? I don't remember who they play now. And then ATI finishes with, I think they played Bullard Havens at the end. Darien plays New Canaan. Now that could be a little bit of an issue for them. If they lose that game to drop to 6-4, that might open the door a little bit. Like, I don't know where my sheet is here. And of course I closed it. Who knows why? Open. Let's take a look. The L worksheet. Here it is. That's right. So right now, Weaver, if they win any of those games, if they win Ellington and they finish with Capital Prep, if they win any of those games, they'll get in. ATI versus Bullard Havens, they win that, they will get in. They're going to need some help, Darien, if they lose to New Canaan. Ludlow, if they beat Ward, they'll also get in. And if they lose though to Ward, they're going to need a little bit of help. Just one team losing I think Ludlow will be back in the state playoffs. And then Ridgefield, they need to win and get a little bit of help. They play Danbury on Thanksgiving Eve, I think, or at least next week. They need to win and get a little bit of help. Just one team losing in that case to get in. Otherwise, South Windsor needs to beat Enfield to get in. And then it becomes kind of a mess after that. If Darien, I mean, listen, I don't think a lot of people think Darien going to win that game. So what does that do? I mean, like, again, South Windsor can get in if they beat Enfield, possibly, but they're going to need to get a lot of points. Darien, I think, can get enough points to stay ahead of them. Platt, Amity, Maloney, there's a slight chance for all these teams. They all need to win. Obviously, Platt and Maloney, one will knock out the other. And then you got Amity, which is going to need to beat Shelton this week and get some bonus help. You have Enfield, has a puncher's chance, but needs lots of help. And then after that, everyone else is pretty much done. So that is the class. I don't know, Pete, what do you think of the, Class L?
It's not nice that there's a little
like once upon a time.
No, but I still think if New Canaan's in, Cheshire's in, Newtown, I think Darien is very interesting. Remember, Darien has made the run to the L championship the last 2 years as a lower seed. So let's not count them out if they're able to get in.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice that Ludlow got the win over Staples. I think that, that we've been, I know Staples, we said is reeling and they might not be having the greatest season, but Ludlow's losses are to Wilton, Greenwich, and St. Joe's.
They played well.
Yeah. And they have played well in all of them. They haven't lost to Ward in a really long time. So I'm imagining they're going to win and go 7-3. I like Ludlow's chances against a lot of the teams in L, not named New Canaan, Cheshire, or Newtown. But I could be wrong. But I think, don't count out those FCIAC teams. And I know the comments are going to say that I'm FCIAC biased, but those are good teams at the bottom. And they'll make for an interesting first round. Obviously, the standings aren't going to fall the way that they are right now. But Newtown, Darien, week 1, or quarterfinals would be really interesting. Ludlow, Cheshire would be really interesting. So I think there's more. I think there's a lot more intrigue in the first round in Class L than there is in Double L.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's
potential.
New Canaan. It just looks like New Canaan to lose that whole division, 4 straight titles. My goodness, if that can do that.
No.
Let's look at the Class Double M standings right now. The 4 of 8 teams are in. Right now, I have Wilton and Windsor with home games. Bunnell and Middletown are in line to probably capture those last 2 home games with victories. Bunnell plays Stratford, and Middletown plays this week Berlin. That's going to be tough for Middletown. The big game, obviously, is Newington-Wethersfield, just like last year almost. But this time, winner, well, especially if it's Newington. Newington will clinch if it gets in. Torrington also clinches if it gets in against Watertown. Fitch plays, let's see, they play, or I can't. Fitch plays Ledyard. They'll get a lot of points from that, and they'll basically clinch and get in as well. And that would leave basically one spot. The Newington-Wethersfield loser, especially if it's Wethersfield, will open the door for a host of teams. Massac being one of them, but Massac's got to play Newtown, and that's going to be no sure thing. And the Plainfield Quinnebog co-op Valley Panthers on your CIAC website, they play Griswold, a team that they can never beat, just never beat Griswold. And Griswold's pretty good this year. But Plainfield, maybe they adding all the Ellis Tech, Tortolot, and Putnam kids, maybe that'll help them push them over the top. If they can win that game, that might help them maybe capture the spot. And then Cheney Tech actually has not a ridiculous chance, but it's not bad. Like I said, I talked to Tony Benito today, and he's just like, hey, we just got to win our game and just kind of hope things fall the way. I mean, Massac could lose, Plainfield could lose, and Wethersfield, we can outpoint them. And, it's looking like that could possibly happen if Newington beats Wethersfield. If Wethersfield beats Newington, it's going to look like those 5 through 8 are going to be in. And that'll be that. If Middletown loses this week and Newington wins, I think that I haven't really looked very hard at it, but I think Middletown still have a good chance to outpoint Newington on that. But who knows? In Class Double S. Oh, sorry, Double S. Let's go to Class M. The big game this week, obviously, was 2 of the teams that are pretty much, I don't want to say pretty much in, but one of them was close to being in. The winner of this game was going to be in, I should say. It's Guilford versus Lyman Hall. Lyman Hall chirping on us early. And then, they won their big game against Brentford. Could they beat Guilford? And they got Sheehan left. It was a chance to see what they brought to the table. And at Kavanaugh Field, our guy, there they are running out of the field. Guilford, they're both sides chirping at each other in this game. But Aiden Rutolo was absolutely ridiculous. That offensive line just made some crushing blocks for him. He ran for 183 yards, 16 carries, and scored 4 touchdowns. It was no contest as the Guilford defense was absolutely dominant. There goes Alex Taffro, the quarterback, running up the middle for a touchdown. And they were scoring from all over the field in this one as the rain started to fall at Kavanaugh Field. And Guilford's defense, like I said before, I mean, life miserable for Ryan Casey. And then they're off to the races. There they go. Guilford won this game 48-8. And defense, Connolly played great. It was a great team. It was Guilford I saw against Amity. That was a slugfest. This one, afterwards, they were, Guilford was like, well, this game, we knew the type of schedule we played, and we knew the type of schedule Lyman Hall played. Lyman Hall played kind of one of the easier SEC schedules, and no big thing. Though, quickly on this game, one of the Lyman Hall freshmen was tossed to the turf and hit his head, and as a precaution, and he was in a lot of pain, and as a precaution, they carried him off the field. There's Aiden waving to the camera, and Aiden Rutolo. And then afterwards, all the teams gathered together to have a little prayer for him as he was taken off the field, and our best wishes to him going forward. But Lyman Hall afterwards kind of a little bit of their desperation mode. So you can see the teams praying after the game. They all got hugs and stuff after the game. But what's next for Guilford now. Obviously, Lyman Hall's got to play Sheehan now. They're not in yet. They haven't clinched yet, and they're going to be in trouble if they can't beat Sheehan, and that's no sure thing, obviously. But after the game, we talked to our guy, Aiden Rutolo, and Alex Taffro to talk about the game that looms for them this coming week. That's Hand, and Guilford hasn't beaten Hand since 2006. And well, we'll get to that in a second. But here's those guys talking about the challenge they have ahead of themselves.
It's definitely a big game for us. We're definitely proud of how we played, but once again, it's more than a game. We're all brothers here, and we're just keeping him in our prayers. We know that the Lord will heal him, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about the game right now, but we're just praying for Logan, and we believe we can run the ball on any team. We could do anything. Run the ball, pass the ball. Our defense is, I think, one of the best in the state. So we're just excited to go.
We knew they haven't played with anyone all season like us, and we knew coming to this game we just got to play tough, play like we play like that. What we haven't been playing the last couple of weeks. That's what we did. I mean, ran the ball over them. Our O-line is a bunch of dogs. Been saying it for the past few weeks. So we just got to keep doing it. And I mean, 2 weeks is coming up, and we just got to be ready for that.
Hand is a talented program, and one thing I tell kids, we're not beating history, we're just beating a team. And that's one thing they got to keep in their heads.
We're ready. I mean, we're ready. We know how big this game is going to mean to us, and Aiden's birthday. But we know how big this game is going to be, and we're going to be ready for it. And time will tell what happens.
We're ready for the game. It's a game that we're just always looking forward to. Always looking forward to some rivalry, and we'll be ready for sure.
Well, obviously, Aiden Rutal gave a little shout out to the Lyman Hall freshman who was injured in that game, and but afterwards, it was his 18th birthday. I completely forgot to mention that. But so happy birthday, Aiden Rutal! Having a great season. He can play for my team anytime. He's as good as on defense as he is on offense. And Guilford's offensive line, their defensive guys are just flying all over the place. But can this be the first time they've beaten Hands in 2006? Let's take a look at the history. Like Brian White said, we're not playing history. Well, history says you guys have no shot. Hand is on a 17-game win streak, and it has been no contest. Guilford won twice, a pair of times in the 90s. 98, 99. Oh, I'm sorry. They only won once. I accidentally left the thing up top there. But Guilford's won twice, once. That's it, once. And they've only won 5 times in 50, what is it? 50, I can't do math. 52 tries, and Hand has won 17 straight. Guilford's been close a few times, but overall, yikes. It is not a good, but 8-1 versus 8-1 at the Surf Club. Be there, be square. It's November 26th, 6 p.m. Should be a fascinating game. But Pete,
you know what some people would call this game?
Oh God, what?
It would be a David versus Goliath.
This is a David versus Goliath game. Absolutely, 100%. This is David versus Goliath. Now, hold on though, Pete. Guilford is in Class M and Hand double S.
Well, I will say this about Guilford: their only loss this year is to Cheshire,
and it was a close game, 24-20.
Yeah. I'm looking at M. I don't want to jump to. Maybe I'll talk about this after we show the standings. I don't want to give too much away in Class M, but I have some thoughts on Guilford and Class M.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's take a look at the other big result in Class M. Rockville. Pete, our guy Eric Knickerbocker. They erased a 9-point deficit with less than 5 minutes to play. Darren Glowslaw and sophomore quarterback Luca Hull's late touchdown run gave the Rams a 33-29 victory over Cromwell Portland Panthers, handing them their first loss of the year. Glowslaw threw a touchdown pass earlier to get that comeback going, and that was big for Rockville. Remember, they lost the curious one. Who was it? The Creck earlier? Yeah, Creck a few weeks ago, and you were like, God, it was a close game. But you're like, I even said, is this the real Pequot championship? I don't know. Well, maybe not so much. I mean, but the Cromwell Portland loses their first of the year, and Rockville now puts itself back on a course here to clinch and get itself going. They're very close. And here's the hero at the end of the game, Luca Hull, talking about their big victory and his touchdown.
Oh, it means a lot. Last year, I wasn't here, but they came in here to Rockville on our senior night, and they spoiled it, and we gave them the favor back.
I'm taking you through that pass. You needed to make one big play.
Yeah.
Just run me through that play.
Oh yeah. So I had him. I know all my receivers are capable, so I knew he was going to win that. So I just dropped back and made a good throw.
I wasn't even here last year, but we got him paid back. I mean, I love all these sophomores, Pete, by the way. Just overall, a lot of these sophomores are really making some noise, man, in this season. As some of the seniors get up, next man up, these kids have been playing great, and he's one of them.
Yeah, it's a great win for Rockville. We definitely heard about it because Carl and the 8-Ball were the only ones to pick Rockville. Just for the record, I picked Rockville last year against Cromwell, and Cromwell won. So I was a little burned, but the Rams got it done. And I don't want to say Ellington hasn't beat Rockville in a long time on Thanksgiving week, but it's been a while. I mean, ever since Eric's been there, I know that Rockville has kind of dominated that series. So that should set Rockville up pretty well heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, they just need one win to get in. Let's take a quick look at the standings in Class M. You're going to love this. St. Joe 7-2 over 9-0 Berlin right now, only by about 25 points, right? There's a chance Berlin, when they beat it, when they beat Middletown, will get the top spot, but St. Joseph definitely has a shot at getting the top seed in that one. Guilford right now still just out of the running for a home game. I know they were talking about that they probably have a home game, not quite yet. I think they'll still get it regardless of whether they beat Hand or not, because the rest of this one, but there's still opportunity. Rockville, at this point, they just need to win to get in. Brookfield win to get in. They play Bethel. Holy Cross, they need to beat Wilton, which is, they got 4 wins this year, so they're not the pushover they once were, but win just a little up. Shout out Holy Cross though, but Brady Lombardo did return and had him and his receivers had a great 2 minutes against G&H up there at Van Wy Field. They scored 3 touchdowns in 2 minutes of the final 2 minutes of the half to win that game going away. So Holy Cross has now put itself in position to clinch a spot. If they just need a win and a little bit of help, Lyman Hall needs to beat Sheehan. Let's put that on the table right away. If you beat Sheehan, you're in. If you lose, could be some issues. Platt Tech plays O'Brien Tech, and Platt Tech's been having a great season, and O'Brien Tech is a 3-win team. They should beat them. And then you also have Waterbury Career Academy. They need to win and hope for a loss by any of the above. One of them might be Lyman Hall. Maybe take a quick look. Lyman Hall with a loss, their minimum points is 1110, and their max points is 1170. If Waterbury Career Academy beats Wilby, they will probably outpoint Lyman Hall for that final spot. Our guys in Brantford in big trouble. They need to beat East Haven, and maybe they can squeeze into a spot because they have a range of 1195 to 1075. They got a lot of bonuses, just not a lot that are kind of come in for them. East Lyme has an outside shot, but not very good. North Haven, if they can beat West Haven. Remember, for them, West Haven gives them 150 points rather than 140. But they can beat West Haven. Maybe they can sneak in there. I don't know, somehow. Lyman, I mean, they can certainly catch Lyman Hall, but they might share some of those bonuses. It's not looking good for them, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Then after that, and be prep, they can beat Pomprog this week. They can put themselves. It's going to be a mess for that last spot if Lyman Hall doesn't beat Sheehan in that race. I mean, Holy Cross losing to Wilton probably won't happen, but if they lose, that'll open the door. Brookfield probably not losing to Bethel. I don't think that they're going to be caught though. So I think Rockville right now got 2 games left, Coggachog and Ellington, and if they beat Coggachog, they're in. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But Lyman Hall suddenly in big trouble, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, that was a playoff game. I said that the last couple of weeks. I had that game circled. I'm like, this is a playoff game. And you know, for either team, they needed to win it because with Thanksgiving looming, the history is not in their favor.
Right.
And, you know, now you got to go out and do something Lyman Hall hasn't done in a while, and that's beat Sheehan. And Sheehan's not going to be an easy team to beat. So it'll be really interesting to see how they play out there. Though I will say about Guilford, because look, we're looking at Class M, and like St. Joe's is the number 1 seed at 7-2, and it looks like this is the St. Joe's Invitational.
Yeah.
I feel like, and it's to no fault of their own, but also a fault to their schedule. Like, we're not talking about Brookfield a lot. They're 7-2, but you know, other Barlow and Notre Dame Prep are the only 2 teams over 500 that they've beaten, and they're both 5-4. They've lost to Hand and Newtown. You're expecting them to beat Bethel. They'll be 8-2. And It's not like a good looking 8-2, but they're still a really good team. I just think we kind of forgot about them after
Yeah,
those
we did.
losses.
Well, they haven't had that. They had 2 chances, and the rest were
Yeah,
a bunch
and
of.
they weren't even in either of those games. That was the thing. They weren't
Yeah.
even like in them. So it is kind of the St. Joe's Invitational, but I am really curious about Guilford. Like they play tough schedule or tougher schedule than some other teams. You look at M as a whole, and you're like, could you see Guilford saying if they're on the opposite side of St. Joe's making a run? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how it all shakes out, but I mean, you have an FCX school, you have an CCC, Guilford in the SEC, Rockville in the Pequot, Brookfield in the SWC, Holy Cross in the NVL, Lyman Hall right now in the SEC, and Platt Tech in the CTC. Divisions like that favor the bigger conferences and the better conferences, and that's where Guilford comes from.
I can't wait to see Hand Guilford. I don't know what game I'm going to be at. I'm going to be at a game Wednesday. I can't wait to see how they play. I mean, right now, this is a really good Hand team. So,
yeah.
We don't quite know. Geez, I hope I didn't. Anyway, well, we'll see. I mean, listen, I think this was a very good Guilford team. I mean, they got tough guys up front. I mean, Aiden Rutolo, man, like I just said, he can play for anybody. He can play for me any day, man. That kid, he's just a terror.
It's kind of fun to see them playing so well after last year. We gave them a lot of hype heading into last year, and they kind of didn't live up to it. And now it's like a lot of the same guys, but playing more as a unit. So it's nice to see that pay off for the Grizzlies.
Okay, let's take a look at the Class SS standings right now. Not a ton happened this week. I mean, obviously, Killingly won their 22nd consecutive games. They have clinched a home game. Nottawag also has clinched a home game. They got 2 games left against Amistad and Thames River. They should win both of those. Hand, obviously, as Guilford, they've already clinched a home game. They'll be at the Surf Club for the quarterfinals. Law is pretty close right now. I think they're probably not going to lose the form, but if they did, that would kind of open the door for someone else. Maybe Ellington would sneak in there. I think Ellington has a shot to maybe get that last home game if they win both their games. They play 2 tough ones, Weaver and Rockville. So they'll have more points than Law if they win those 2 games and get enough bonuses. But I don't know. That's tough for Ellington. We'll see. Ledyard's in there, and New Fairfield. I think Ledyard's going to be winning in. New Fairfield's going to be winning in over New Milford, and then you have this. The last part of this is good. It's fascinating. Plainville, who they play where I put them. I don't have them in here somewhere. Oh geez. But I have all my notes scattered across the desk here, and it's just like. But I think Plainville Waterford is going to be interesting. I mean, Plainville can win that game. I think. Would you say, Pete? They play
Farmington. Yeah,
3-6 win that game. So far, that's been a great season for our guy Tid Shea and Albarno playing great quarterback, and they're looking pretty good. But it's going to be a dogfight there with Waterford for playoff points. Waterford has got East Lyme left, and East Lyme's been playing great, so that's going to give them a lot of points. Crack is in the mix there. They need to beat, but it's going to be tough with them. Cap Prep only giving 110 points here. Ton of bonuses, and Granby Kent needs to win. They need to beat North Branford to even have a shot here. It should be interesting though, but it looks like it could be Plainville Waterford for that last spot if they both win, because Waterford's close and got some bonuses, but I think Plainville will eventually get it there. I think Ledyard, Fitch, that game could go either way, but I think Ledyard's in a really good spot. Obviously, there you go. But I think you want to talk about the St. Joe Invitational. This has obviously been all year been the can we keep Hand out of that 4 spot. Anything below that 2-3 is fine, but anything below that, please no 4 or 5. So a lot of people root for Guilford maybe to get Hand versus. I don't think so. I don't think Jonathan Law can catch up. I think they're firmly entrenched in that spot. To be honest with you, I think they're going to be either the 2 or the 3. They're most likely going to be the 2, especially if they beat Guilford. So, Plainville wasn't looking good, and all of a sudden they're on a roll here, Pete.
It's nice to see because they've been putting up a lot of points this year. And look, Plainville's 3 losses: Middletown, Northwest Catholic, Bloomfield. Yeah. I mean, that's not even in a bad, I don't want to say a bad year for Bloomfield because they're 7-3, but this isn't the Bloomfield teams that we've seen in past. This is clearly a retooling year for the Warhawks, and that was their chance to get them, and they weren't able to. But Plainville can score. And it's kind of fun, look, Tim Shea is a very successful coach. He had a lot of success at Woodland. He went to Plainville because that's where he lives, and I believe that's where he teaches. And he's grown them he's built that program back up into, playoff contenders. And it'd be nice to see them. I know he's gotten in before. It'll nice to see them get in again and then kind of go from there. But if they get in at 8, they'll have Killingly. That's not going to be fun in the realm of Class SS. I mean, Killingly Daniel Hand is the game that we've all talked about for the whole season. The one team I will keep an eye on is Jonathan Law. They've definitely gotten better. They played Killingly this year and lost to Killingly, so we cannot forget that. But Law hung for a little bit. Killingly blew him out. I know that, but you're talking about all these sophomores, right? It's nice to see all these sophomores, right? These kids aren't sophomore football players at this point. They've played 8 or 9 games already. They're almost juniors, So it's kind of interesting. Teams at the beginning of the year, teams at the end of the year are very different. I'm not saying Law is going to come in and crash the party here, but I think Law is a really interesting team to keep an eye on in SS. But I think if everything holds and Killingly and Hand are on opposite sides of the bracket, I think we'll get the game that, as football fans, we want to see. I think that championship game will speak, volumes. I think if it's Hand Killingly and Killingly wins and New Canaan somehow doesn't win the L championship, I think we're looking at a number 1 Killingly team.
Yeah, could happen. Certainly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because Hand is up to number 4 in the poll right now, or number 3.
Be Hand, then we'll talk, right?
Yeah. I think this will be Killingly's best, if they can win the championship and beat Daniel Hand, I think this will be their best championship win that they've had since, in the last decade, when they've kind of rose up and, they beat in 2017.
They beat,
I should know this.
Wasn't it Rockville?
No, Rockville was in 2017. Rockville was 2021. I was at that game. Let me pull up past champions. The Spencer Lockwood team. Who did they beat? They beat Joel Barlow.
Oh, Barlow.
Then they lost to Weston for the SWC in 2019. They beat Rockville, the Pequot, and they lost to North Haven of the SCC, and then they beat Shane of the SCC last year.
Right.
I think if they can play Hand in the championship, and if they can beat Hand, I think that puts them into for me personally, and I know there's people who are voting them 1, there are people who are voting them 2. I'm not voting them, but for me, if they can go out and beat Daniel Hand in the state championship, that catapults them to the top for me.
That's legit. That's
hardcore
legit. They're having a great season, man. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to our last one. The big result last week, as I pull up my notes that I have all skewed all the place, was Seymour and Waterbury Career Academy. And Waterbury Career Academy desperately needed to win to stay in the race here. And Seymour looking to go 9-0 going into their Woodland game. And junior running back Connor Shea ran 29 times for 184 yards and a 37-yard touchdown. And senior captain and quarterback Anthony Cortell ran 19 times for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns, and threw for 135 yards, including a 54-yard touchdown connection to Jack Moore, as they defeated and held off Waterbury Career 25-24. Waterbury Career junior Ethan Blaze, who's come back since getting injured early in the year, he threw for 3 TD passes, but it was just not enough. And Seymour ran the clock out. Then Waterbury Career Academy was trying to make a run back into this game. They got within 1, and Seymour successfully was able to run out the clock. 9-0 versus 9-0. That sets it up next week at what do they call it? What do they call it? The Hawk, the Battle on Hawk. I don't know what they call it.
Which game?
The Woodland Seymour. Both.
The Woodland. Let me pull it up.
I read the story. I completely forgot now because my mind is mush. But the big pull it up, Pete. But they set up the big game up at Hawk Hill when they faced the night
No,
before Thanksgiving.
we don't have a name for it in the
no, we don't. But Kevin Roberts did say that they call. I don't know if it's the official name, so don't hold me to that. But anyway, but now it's you used to see Ansonia and Naugatuck 9-0. Now you got Woodland Seymour 9-0 because Woodland continues to roll. They're 9-0.
Sorry, it's the War in the Woods.
The War in the Is that what they call it now?
Yeah, according to Kyle, that's not what they call it. Wait, no, it might be what they. I don't know. I'm getting live text messages.
Let's get Kyle Brennan on. We got to get Kyle Brennan on to talk about that. Like, what do you call it? You got to get a field name at Woodland first. Let's call it Kyle Brennan.
Beautiful setup too. Yeah, Kyle Brennan's going to get a statue. That's what I said.
Yeah. But that game is shot. Here's Cortello talking about in the post-game locker room, by the way, talking about the big win and what this means to them and going in undefeated.
At the end of the day, you're 9-0. I mean, What's that mean to you? What's that mean to this team?
I mean, I feel like we're all just fighters. Like no one on this team has given up on anyone. I'm not giving up on anyone. Connor hasn't given up on anyone. Our coaches don't give up. And I mean, no matter where I have to play, I'm always going to play. It's my last season, and I'm willing to do anything for this team. And I'm just glad we pushed past that and we're 9-0.
Hey, this is what they wanted, man. Seymour, what a job that Seymour's done this year. I mean, they call them the Cardiac Cats. They're like taking over the mantle from Platt, which has kind of sunk a little bit. But Seymour's just won all the games. They beat a lot of good NVL teams, and they've done an amazing job.
But look at these games that they've won. They beat Griswold Wheeler by 9, so that's 2 scores. They beat Ansonia by 7, 1 score. They beat Oxford by 4, 1 score. They beat Wolcott by 1 score. They beat Kennedy by 9. They beat Kennedy by 11. They beat Seymour. They beat Naugatuck by 5, and they beat Waterbury Career by 1. They've won, 5 one-score games?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
That's insane.
And they're having a great
look,
season.
You want to win games, but the fact that you can play in games that are one-score games and be victorious in those games sets you up for in the playoffs where maybe the competition is a little higher. You're playing teams that are also playing in the playoffs, and to be able to play in a one-score game, not be fazed by that is so important.
Yeah. Let's take a look at Class S standings here. It's all set except one spot, and you can guess who that one spot might be reserved for. Woodland got a number one. They've got a home game. Seymour not quite there yet because there's a ton of teams here. North Brantford being one of them. They can play 2 games. Cromwell, Portland. They get Rocky Hill at the end. Sheehan with a chance to maybe catch one of those home games. So it's not quite there yet for Seymour, but the winner of that game will be the number 1 seed going into the Class S playoffs and maybe win the Ansonia sweepstakes, because if the Chargers beat Naugatuck on Thanksgiving, they will get into the state playoffs despite all their troubles. And look out. I mean, Woodland beat them up a little bit, but Seymour and Sony was kind of a dogfight, and they needed to win that late, as you mentioned. Nobody wants Ansonia in this, and if Ansonia gets in, they're playing one of those teams, Pete. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
They win that, they're getting in. It's going to be one of those 2 teams, unbelievably.
That's incredible.
Yeah, well, Cromwell, Portland's in, Sheehan's in. Sheehan, nice job. I mean, like, for odds, you can take a breath. I know you want to get that home game, beat Lyman Hall, and then go in there and take your shot and see where you land in the Woodland / Seymour sweepstakes. I mean, obviously we talked about Sheehan, Woodland. These are the favorites right now. Sheehan's schedule's ridiculous. Northwest Catholic is in there, and Bloomfield. Obviously they play Windsor this week, so we'll see how their seeding goes. But right now, Griswold Wheeler, they need Ansonia to lose to Naugatuck in the worst way, and Ham Cronenworth is really in desperation mode. They need Griswold Wheeler to lose to Plainfield, Quinnebog right now, and that's probably not going to happen, but who knows? And everyone else is pretty much cooked, even Valley. But again, Ansonia wins that game to get in, and then we'll just kind of see where we are in Class S. But everybody else here, as Pete is in Bloomfield, despite the early 2-0-2 hole, they've climbed all the way back and got into the state playoffs. Again, looking for how many state championship games? Is 7 in a row or something?
It would be 7 in a row. They've gone to 6 in a row since 2018.
I'll tell you what, Pete, I absolutely love this division. This is a strong division. Lots of great teams that have won state championships, been to the state final. The only outlier, I guess, Northwest Catholic hasn't been to the playoffs since 2014. And it's been a while. I mean, North Branford, hey, congrats. I haven't seen him this year, which is crazy. Maybe I'll get to see him this week. Who knows? But North Branford, remember we were like their lock last year. And this year, it was like, And now they've made it in there. They only lost once. So good job by the T-Birds getting in. And then, I love Northwest Catholic.
I have a fun fact for Woodland and Seymour, and I just did it really quick, so don't guarantee me on this, but I just ripped through the record book really quickly. I don't think Ansonia has ever lost to an NVL team in the postseason.
You're testing me now.
I don't think they have.
Think so. Well, certainly haven't in the last 20 years.
No, whatever. But I don't think they've ever lost to an NVL team in the postseason.
All right. Let all the Valley guys jump on you for not getting that right, if not. But
I think I'm right.
But that's Woodland. So the winner of Woodland Seymour, Ansonia.
Yeah.
Let's go. Should be great.
Well, they both beat Ansonia in the regular season, so that
they did.
In their favor.
Woodland a little more convincingly than Seymour. Remember, had to rally late, but certainly played great in that game to do so. So hey, it's a rumble in the valley, or whatever you want to call the game. Wednesday night.
So the last time Ansonia and Woodland played, they played in the semifinals last year. Took a Hail Mary with no time left to win.
That's right. Woodland. You know what? Woodland would love to beat them twice after last year. They'd love to beat them twice. They didn't have Ian Pringle either, or Justin Pringle. And Woodland's, I've talked about all year. Woodland's linebackers, ridiculous. Scampolino's great. That's a Brunetti. That's a good team.
Yeah.
Let's see Sheehan. Let's see where we got Sheehan. Should be interesting. I love Class S, Pete. It's probably, in my estimation, probably the best division out of the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. I think it's wide open. Excuse me. I think it's wide open. I think Woodland's the favorite, but, well, that's not true. I think Sheen's the favorite if we're talking strength of schedule and competition you faced all year. Yeah. I do think Sheen is the favorite, but we'll see.
All right. Let's quickly take a look at the games to watch this week. Not a lot of them, but certainly games that have playoff implications. Ellington needs to win to get in, and Hartford Culp's pretty good. That's Weaver Hartford. That's a big game on Thursday at Weaver, I believe. I looked it up, and it looks like it's at Weaver. Then Berlin versus Middletown at Rossick Scooble Stadium on Friday. Berlin looking to go 10-0. We have not talked a ton about Berlin lately. Recently, and maybe I'll go see them on Friday night 6 against Middletown. I haven't seen them either. So they had Granby Kent and North Branford. Granby Kent desperately needs wins to get in. North Branford maybe a little bit can maybe ease off the pedal a little bit. Depends on where they want to end up in the playoffs. And as we looked at, there's no easy one there. It's a rock and a hard place. But Granby Kent just wants to get in, and they need to start by beating North Branford and just kind of hope, because that'll be their season finale. Enfield at South Windsor. South Windsor desperately needs to win and get a little help. Enfield, more than that. I obviously go too late on that. Roll it back quick. I don't even know who the last two teams were. Thank you very much. Bloomfield at Windsor. Not a lot in playoff implications. And then obviously I threw in there the Connor Hall Mayor's Cup. Always a fun game. And why not, as we begin our Thanksgiving week rivalries. That's the first big one. Thank you very much. We're going to skip shout outs. Shout out to everybody who watched this absolute slog, and I was powering through this thing because I didn't have a chance to really.
Sean, shout out to you. Shout out to you for doing the points, because I can't do them, and we are. There's not many people out there doing them for everyone. Every coach knows their playoff scenario, but they have to do 1, 2, couple of teams that affect them. Not everyone in the state. So shout out to you, Sean.
No shout out to the Pequot guys. Play all your games before this week, please. It absolutely drives me nuts.
Oh, also, no shout outs, unshout out to teams that aren't putting their scores in.
Oh, yeah. That was
guys, put your scores in. It's not hard. Guys. If you lost and you feel bad, I'm sorry, but put it in, because you're preventing work from getting done.
Yeah.
Like, you're preventing teams from figuring out your playoff standings if you don't put your scores in on the CIAC side.
Yeah, we were waiting for a few scores this week. It was annoying, so I couldn't do it until Sunday. But whatever, nobody cares about our little issues. But lastly on the Pequot, man, you guys are killing me with this, because it's like if you don't beat a team, if you beat a team, do you get the? I don't know. It just there's too many variables left with the Pequot playing their games the last 2 weeks, so you have to factor it all in. Whatever, we've been here too long, but thanks for joining us, Pete. I don't know where I'm going this week, but it's going to be interesting. And then we're off to Thanksgiving and more points and more headaches, and then finally we get
then
the
fun starts.
Yeah, then the fun really starts. So for People Go, I'm Sean Patrick Ball. It's been the Meat Grinder and Game Time CT. Thanks for joining us on this beautiful cold. It's getting cold, man. November Monday night. Thank you. Bye.
Love you all.